So, hello everyone, and welcome to yet another Let's Talk Idle. It's been a while since the last one. So today I'm gonna look at one that's a little bit older. It's called Tangerine Tycoon. This is one that... It's one of those, like, idle clickers that try and follow what Cookie Clicker did, and then just say, okay, we're gonna take what Cookie Clicker did, and then try and add some stuff to it. What did they add to it? Well, we're gonna come to that later, but first off, the actual game itself is pretty much, like I said, like Cookie Clicker. You just have something to click. There's this one random event that happens if you bought a certain building, which is right now. I'm gonna talk about that later. Let's just do this. So you click the tangerine to get tangerines. You have the thought box, which tells you like random thoughts from people around the world, and then you just buy buildings, and you get more tangerines with more buildings. Also, it shows you the world population and the death count, which is going to come in handy like a little bit later. But I can tell you right now, it's pretty inconsequential. Like, this doesn't really matter at all. So some of the stuff they have is obviously the achievements. Obviously, Cookie also had achievements, and each achievement gives you 1% tangerines per second. Whoop-de-doo. A lot of these achievements are just have enough of this or do some random stuff, so pretty simple things. If you get to the tangerine machine and you have a lot of them, like 10 or 5 or something, I don't know, then at some point you can either put the cat in the machine to get tangerine cats, which is just another building, or you cannot put them in the machine, and if you don't put them in the machine, then you just get more tangerines when you do a reset. And that's actually pretty, well, minuscule. Like, it does barely anything. There's really like no reason not to put the cat in the machine, because just having the building is probably better than having like 10 tangerines when you start off again. It's something like that. I'm gonna come to that later a bit. So the actual flow of the game is, well, it starts out pretty slow and it slows down quite a lot after that. At least the very first time you do your very first like game and you start off, and you're gonna have to like be like, okay, I'm gonna build a tangerine lab and then I'm gonna go AFK for like 10 minutes and then come back and then I'm gonna build like 4 more tangerine labs and then I'm gonna go AFK again for 10 minutes. It's something like that. Though there are some things that you can do if that's just too boring for you. And that's down here, double or nothing. And basically you click play and you either get double of your tangerines or you lose all your tangerines. And you can also pay some tangerines to increase your odds, but only up to like 65% or something. Oh, I lost all my tangerines. It's just pretty, you know. The actual like stats down here are only for your current playthrough, so if you reset, which is important, I'm gonna come to that later, then the stats also reset, which is, I don't know, I don't really like that, because I want to know that if I was once on a playthrough where I had a few bajillion tangerines and I lost all of those bajillion tangerines, I'd like to know that. Also, if I keep playing this game and keep resetting in between, I'd like to know what my win record was and what my streaks was and all of that, but it doesn't save that, it just resets every time. That's a bit sad. Then there's just the ad here, and it tells you how long you looked at the ad. There's an achievement for looking at it for an hour. Then there's the visualization, that just shows you how many tangerines you have. Each pixel represents tangerines, and that fills up. And once it fills up, then it switches to a different, what would you say, different scale. So then afterwards it fills again, but then each pixel represents 1,000 tangerines. Yeah, there you go. Now each of them represents 1,000 tangerines, and it keeps filling up again. It's just a nice little thing to look at, I guess. Doesn't really do that much. And what else do we have? We have the Tangerine Exchange, which is just, okay, you can buy stocks, then the stocks change after a while, and then you can sell them again, and then you get stuff for it. Once again, the actual stats reset in between resets, which is pretty stupid, because I want to know what my global stats are, but it doesn't show that, especially since there's so much space here. Look at how much space there is, and none of that is actually used. Then we have the blank page, which hasn't been filled with anything in like 2 years. Also, by the way, I can jump to that right away. This game hasn't been updated in like over 1 year, maybe even 2 years. I don't know. So don't expect any updates for this. So this page will forever be blank. Then of course we have the achievements right here. Then we have some more statistics. You can change your notifications. We can also have the button notification, which is also an achievement to just see that there, the button notification. Great. And it also shows you your milestones and how fast you've done everything. Also, the last page is the perks. Now the perks is about the resets. Now how do resets work? Well, first off, you need to get to a specific point in the game. And before we get to that, I'm gonna talk about something else, now that I'm actually at the point. So, you've seen about world population and death count. We lost 250 people when my Tangerine machine exploded from putting the cat in. So there's this thing right here, the mutant tangerine. If you click the mutant tangerine, it starts multiplying by itself. Oh my god. And the more mutant tangerines there are, the faster it's gonna start to spawn itself. Like, oh no, now it starts spawning 2 per second. And the more mutant tangerines you have, the more people are dying every second. And you're gonna be like, oh my god, people are dying every second, but at least I'm getting more mutant tangerines. The mutant tangerines themselves do almost nothing though to your actual tangerines per second, so they are pretty inconsequential. I think extraterrestrians are way better than these guys. Look at that. Extraterrestrians are so much better than these guys. Anyway, so these guys just keep multiplying, but they're pretty inconsequential, and you're like, oh my god, what happens with all these people dying? What happens if they all die? You know what happens when they all die? Nothing. It just says, okay, you've reached extinction in 1 hour 17 minutes. And that's it. That's a speedrun achievement for reaching extinction in less than 2 hours 30 minutes. But that's it. There's absolutely no point whatsoever to actually like killing stuff or letting stuff die. I mean, we're not actually killing stuff ourselves, we're just letting them die. So there's pretty much no consequences. You could say like, oh man, what if there was something so that, you know, if more people die, you lose TPS for another building. Like, let's say you obviously need people to run like farms or something, and if people die, then the farm TPS goes down and like that. They could have done something with that. They could have done something with world population, but they didn't. It's just a number. And after then, you can buy these heroic tangerines, and heroic tangerines each kill 1 mutant per second. And since the mutant spawn rate doesn't go above 14 per second, at some point you're just gonna be able to kill all the tangerines off, and then you're back to normal again. But it doesn't matter. I guess it's I don't know. It's just so much missed potential. They actually have this thing in there, so you can like try and keep people alive, or you can let them die. But there's just no point to it. It doesn't matter at all what happens. So I'm gonna go ahead and buy up to 14 heroic tangerines, and then more than that, like 20 or 30. And at that point, all the mutant tangerines are gonna die off. And then I'm gonna be like, oh my god, you finally managed to beat all the mutant tangerines. Wow! And then I can buy the ultimate building. But yeah, the ultimate building actually also spawns new people, so your world population grows after that. So you can be like, oh man, all these people I killed off, I'm gonna resurrect them, and I'm gonna spawn even more humans after that. I'm gonna get to like 8 billion and 9 billion world population all the way. But once again, there's no point to it. Oh, it's so sad. So it could be like, maybe there's probably upgrades for this. Well, there's these perks up there, but these are like the reset mechanic in this game. Actual upgrades like make tangerine bushes more powerful, make heroic tangerines kill stuff faster, maybe an upgrade that makes it so world population actually does something. No, there's no upgrades in this game. There's no upgrades in this game apart from resetting, and those upgrades are pretty global. I can go across those upgrades right now. My one upgrade is just so that you harvest tangerines while offline. Whoop-de-doo. Then it's like start with more tangerines, have more TPS, get more per click, and so on. And more luck while gambling, or the stock market hinting, which is actually something that's a bit more interesting about the exchange. So if you get the perks for that after resetting a bunch, you can see which of these stocks are rising and which of them are falling in advance, and that allows you to get a bit more out of it. Woohoo. But I found the exchange pretty inconsequential. Like, there is some points in the game where you can be like, oh man, I can go AFK for 5 minutes, or I played the stock exchange for 4 minutes, and then maybe I get good luck and get to the same amount of tangerines than I would have in 5 minutes. So yeah, it just does too little. It does too little for how much you could just make from, I don't know, going AFK, doing something else. Because the thing about these idle games is they're not games as in like you sit down and you put your mind to it and you just sit here and play them. Idle games, you just start them up and then you go AFK, do something else, check back later, be like, okay, let's micromanage some stuff here, go back, do something else, maybe play another game, and then come back and be like, okay, let's micromanage some more. But I guess you could, if you wanted to sit down and only play Tangerine Tycoon, you could like do the exchange stuff here. But I'm not the kind of guy who like plays stuff like this actively, so the Tangerine Exchange is fairly pointless to me. Like I said, there are some places in the game where you can be like, okay, maybe I can do it right now and get a little bit of a boost, but you know. So right now I've beat all the mutant tangerines, so the screen goes black. If I actually buy a mutant tangerine now, it's instantly gonna get killed off, but it's still gonna do the whole invasion screen overlay again. There we go. Whoop, red. It's gonna do those red things. I don't know. So now we're just gonna wait until we get the amount of tangerines needed for this, and I can just tell you what happens. We get this ultimate 5D god tangerine which spawns more humans and stuff, and once we have at least one of those, we can do a multiverse breach, which is not a reset. I mean, I've been saying a reset all this time, but what I've actually meant is the multiverse breach. There's also the other reset, but that doesn't give you any perks. If you want coins for perks, like you can buy perks, you need to do Multiverse Breach, and you can do that if you have at least one 5D Tangerine. And the Multiverse Breach gives you coins, and using these coins you can then buy the perks the next time you play the game. Also, like, the Multiverse Breach is also a reset. It's just a better reset because it also gives you coins. So we're gonna buy one here. It's gonna buy a lot of them because suddenly I'm doing not just a few million per second, I'm doing a few 10 to the power of 72 per second. Yes, I'm doing quite a few tangerines per second. And if you look at your tangerine gains, it says I've done like 10 to the power of 74. For every one of these, like every time you have a multiple of 10 to the power of 5, I think it is, like 10 to the power of 5, to the power of 10, 15, 20, and so on, you get 1 coin. So with 74, I get 14 coins. And once I reach 75, I'll get 15 coins for it. But I don't really care for any of that now. By the way, once you reach this point, which I've pretty much showed you an entire playthrough in this entire video, I just have a lot of TPS from this improved efficiency, so it goes really fast. So after I've reached this point, I just do reset. There's no reason at this point to keep playing, unless you want the achievement to get to like 1 to the power of 100, which, by the way, if you were to just do that from going AFK, it would take you about, let me see, a lot of like multiple quintillion years. So if you have multiple quintillion years to sit down, then you could actually wait until you get to 1 to the power of 100, yeah, 1 to the power of 100, 10 to the power of 100. But the problem is that it doesn't give you the achievement, because for that you actually need to do it in 10 days and not quintillion years, which is a bit, you know. So instead, since there's no upgrades or anything else to do, and buying these is only like a linear increase, which is pretty bad. Instead, you pretty much have to do the Tangerine Exchange, because with the Tangerine Exchange and double or nothing, you can like double and triple your money, and doing that, you can actually make it so you can do it in 10 days. So if you really want that one achievement, yeah, this one achievement, and you have 10 days to spare, it's probably going to be less than that, like 8 days or 7 days, I don't know, then you can do this achievement and play the Tangerine Exchange all day, every day. Ah, man, it's just so sad. This page right here explains this game so much, in that there's just a blank space in this game that should have been something, and it would have been so much better. If this was like an upgrade screen where every time you reset you can buy, not every time you reset, not like perks. Perks are like stuff that happens in between resets. But this is like when you're on a game, on a playthrough right now, I could go up here and be like, okay, I can paste some tangerines and increase how good my, increase the efficiency of my farms or something like that. If it has something like that, but more importantly, it had some interesting things, like for example, with this upgrade, your god now has more TPS the more world population you have. Something like that. That would be so good. Or if all the people in the world are dead, then your extraterrestrians are now 5 times as efficient. You know that you could think about stuff like that to do. You could add some actual interesting mechanics to this game. But without that, it's like Cookie Clicker trying to not be Cookie Clicker. It's instead Tangerine Tycoon. And then you do Multiverse Breach. And then it shows you this really long animation with this music. And I think we're also at the end of my little review, so I guess if you really wanted to see what idle clickers were back in the day when Cookie Clicker was new and people were trying to copy it, then yeah. That's it for me. See you guys next time.